But of course, today is D-Day for the EFF's planned national shutdown. The party and some workers' unions are protesting against power cuts while demanding President Cyril Ramaphosa to leave office. Well, government is also leaving nothing to chance as it's dispatched thousands of law enforcement officers to curb any chaos. But the question is, will the protest action be enough to drive Ramaphosa out of office, and will it help end the darkness that we constantly find ourselves involved in? Well, of course, political analyst Lukhanyo Vangqa joins me now to weigh in on this. And Lukhanyo, thank you so much. Always a pleasure talking to you. And I have to ask you this. What are your plans for today? Are you participating in the national shutdown or not? And if so, why? If not, why not?
Good morning, Tumelo. Plans for today, I'll be working, assisting a couple of media houses to be able to cover, analyze and understand what happens today. So yeah, I'll be working.
Yeah, and we need that clarity, right, Lukhanyo, because I think South Africans want to wrap themselves around whether or not this will be helpful. This is the base strategy in terms of either getting the president to resign, ending rolling blackouts, sending a clear message to government. What are your views then in helping our viewers understand this? Because that's the EFF stance. But will it be productive? Will it work?
Sure. So this is an asymmetrical power play by the EFF. You've heard people speak about a 10 to 12% political party could never be able to shut down the country. But the way in which they've planned these protests in terms of the breadth and the length at which it goes, then that asymmetrical power play outsizes the influence and ability of the EFF to impact on national life in the country beyond what its political support is at the ballot box. So that asymmetrical power play reminds you of how the Ho Chi Minh strategy was in Vietnam and how they were able to stretch the U.S. Army and stretch the security forces of the U.S. to such an extent that, you know, they sort of demoralized them and they were able to win that battle of attrition that they had there. So that's the same strategy that the EFF is applying here. It's harder to hit a moving target, Tumelo, because the EFF is here, but it's not here. It's there, but it's not there. So in terms of that, their political strategy, this asymmetrical strategy, is one of the best political strategies we've seen in a while. Yeah. And this protest will be one of the most impactful that we've seen since the Julius Malema-led ANC Youth League protest that we saw on the march that we saw in 2010, I believe, from the walk from Johannesburg to Pretoria at the Union Buildings that apparently attracted over 100,000 people. Yeah. So this, leading from that, is one of the best political moves I've seen in terms of political protest.
But now also enters SAFTU into the group chat. They're saying as a union, they are in support of this national shutdown. Is this strategic? Just going to your point about more of a political strategy for the EFF, having SAFTU as a backing, as a union saying that we're joining in the shutdown. We're also supporting what you list there as the reasons for this shutdown. Could this also be strategy?
Yes. So that sort of assimilation between the EFF and SAFTU, but also other sympathizers as well, make a lot of sense. They've stood together with regards to the Phala issue on a number of occasions, speaking about the UTM, the ATM, and how they stood as a bloc in Parliament to ensure that the Phala issues move forward in terms of the Section 89 investigations. But you look at SAFTU as well and how they've joined the EFF and the UTM in going to court to litigate the issue of load shedding. So you can see those convergence of interest. But if you also look at SAFTU as well, remember it's a union that has no political affiliations to a political party. And from now going into 2024, there's going to be a talk about the electoral the national elections that are coming up, and SAFTU would need to make a stance or to give direction to its members as to which political parties to vote for. And forming these alliances early on is able to be a win-win for both SAFTU and the EFF, that SAFTU can be able to have some influence on decision-making in Parliament, decision-making in the state, and in other legislatures that the EFF is going to be in. So if you see this support go to the EFF today translate into support to the 2024 elections from SAFTA to the EFF, you shouldn't be all that surprised.
Yeah, we're talking strategy now, but I mean, at the end of this, it's South Africans who have to bear the brunt. This march, this protest in the name of the interests of South Africans, so at least we hear from the EFF, because of the rolling blackouts, also, you know, the EFF stance that Ramaphosa, President Cyril Ramaphosa, is not capable to lead this country as a statesman. Will South Africans see an end to power cuts? Will this bear the results that the EFF is hoping for?
Dumelo, you're bringing this back to its most basic tenets, what this day is about. And this day, I believe, is about corruption-induced state incompetence that has brought this country to its knees, with the highest levels of unemployment, with the highest levels of inequality, and with the highest levels on record of load shedding. And that's what this day is about. And that's what this protest seeks to bring to the fore. How South Africans are harmed by what's happening in the ruling party and therefore in our government. And I believe that those issues are things that South Africans really do sympathize about, because everyone is affected and impacted by load shedding. And at the end of the day, I think South Africans will be able to remember that this is what this day is about. Any sporadic incidents of violence or anything of that nature, I think will be secondary to the key issues that of corruption-induced state incompetence that has brought this country to its knees.
And I appreciate you speaking to me this morning. Political analyst Lukhanyo Vangqa, thank you so much for your time.